Hello, I'm coming to you once again from my office in the Rayburn House office building across from the Capitol, and I wanted to express my concerns about the anti-American demonstrations presently going on in Afghanistan. Let me give you a little history. I voted for the first Gulf War, the first war in Iraq or against Iraq that was centered around Kuwait, because I went to all the briefings by General Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell telling us about the elite troops that Saddam Hussein had and how dangerous he was and what a great threat he was. Of course, after the war started, I saw those same elite troops surrendering to CNN camera crews and empty tanks. So I started wondering or thinking at that time that maybe the threat had been greatly exaggerated. However, that war lasted only 7 months, and so I was pleased with the way that was handled. Several years later, when I read some front page stories, though, about how we were spending $4 million a day to enforce a no-flight zone over Iraq, and we were bombing on average once every 4 days, and some of our bombs were going awry and killing civilians, I began to wonder about that, and I thought that we made a mistake in doing that. Then at the time of the second Gulf War, of course, the second war in Iraq, I opposed that and continued to oppose that and thought that was a big mistake, and I still think that. I voted to go to war in Afghanistan, but I did not vote for a forever or permanent war. And so I have felt it is a bad mistake that we have dragged our fighting in Afghanistan out almost 3 times as long as as what we did in World War II. I'm not a pacifist, but I happen to think that you should only go to war only if there's no other reasonable alternative and only as a very last resort, because many young people are going to be killed and have been killed in what I think were very needless wars that have been more about money and power than they have been about any real threat to the U.S. But I voted to go to war in Afghanistan, and I would have done that again, except that I thought we were going to go in there for a few months, and that's the way I think a war should be handled. If we're forced to go to war, I think we go in with everything we have and get it over with as quickly as possible and then get out. And I think we should have left Afghanistan a long time ago. But of course now, because somebody at an Air Force base over there burned some Korans, we're having all these anti-American demonstrations by hundreds of thousands of Afghani citizens. I think they should be ashamed. Particularly, they should be ashamed and I hope prosecuted, the ones who have killed thus far 4 Americans. That is a terrible thing. I thought the President made a mistake in apologizing, because I did not think that mistake should have risen to the level of a presidential policy. I would have had no problem with the people who made the person or people who made the mistake apologizing, or maybe even the commander of the Air Force base, or possibly even the Secretary of State, which even there I think maybe that would have been going too far. But for the President to apologize for something that was a mistake by one person or maybe a few persons at this Air Force base, I thought was a mistake. But now especially, that with these anti-American demonstrations, when there's no country in the history of the world that has done as much for another country as we have done for Afghanistan, we still are paying the bulk of the salaries of thousands and thousands of Afghani citizens. We've spent hundreds of billions of dollars in Afghanistan over the last roughly 10 and a half, 11 years now, doing everything in the world for those people, rebuilding their entire infrastructure, training their police force. In fact, probably half of what we've done over there has been just pure foreign aid. And I think that we should have gotten out a long time ago, and especially now, we should tell the Afghan people that they should be ashamed of themselves for killing these Americans and for these anti-American demonstrations. They are very ungrateful people, and I just don't think that we should be continuing to spend all the mega billions that we're spending to try to take care of such an ungrateful people. This is money, these hundreds of billions that we've spent over there over these last many years have been money that we've had to borrow. Over 41% of that money has been borrowed. And it will cause problems for us and our children and our grandchildren for many years to come.